I mentioned a few weeks ago, and I've talked with several people since, that there's one thing about the silver market that actually is making me fairly concerned. So, as you know, we've been working on this larger story about how sometimes decades happen in weeks. And some of the decadal things that are happening these past few weeks are the absolute stampede of BRICS countries away from the dollar. Not totally away from the dollar, but I mean, they've started, right? So, bilateral trades with India in rupees, with Malaysia, and both Brazil and China trading in their native domestic currencies with each other. Russia now trading more in yuan than in dollars with China, or in any trade, of course, inside their country. So it's a big deal. And here's why silver, I think, is telling me something. Now, I believe that our markets have to, they're markets. And I put the double air quotes around because they are no longer, well, they're just narrative machines. As much as NPR gives you a realistic sense of what Russians did in the, US elections, the Federal Reserve is going to make sure you're going to get the same level of truthiness out of the markets, because the markets are there to convey a narrative. They're not there to tell the truth anymore. As you know, NPR doesn't believe you could handle the actual truth, so they have to sell you a narrative. They have to give you a pitch and a spin. The Fed doesn't believe you could handle real prices in the markets, because those would get your little head wrapped up and you'd do things you shouldn't do. They want you calm. They want you in the game. They want you doing what they, anyway, signaling mechanism. So I think the stock markets obviously have been bastardized for a long time. I've made that case. And I tell you how they do it. I tell you why they do it. Of course, gold and silver, in particular gold, has been for different reasons. Gold is heavily contained by the central bank narrative machine makers because, well, gold could tell you the wrong story, namely that you don't trust their product. So if I had my perfect world, I could wave my little magic policy wand and somebody said, hey, how would you fix this? How would you fix the money system? I'd go, that is easy. I would create 3 separate money systems. The Federal Reserve, they could operate their dollars. They could do whatever they wanted to do with them. They make their decisions, and you could choose whether you'd keep it there, or maybe the Mennonites set up their own gold-backed, cow-backed, meat-backed currency, whatever they do, and maybe you could decide to hold their currency instead, so you could judge. Maybe there'd be a third currency, a Bitcoin or something like that, which is entirely out of the hands of human intervention to expand its supply. Or maybe a digital currency that is then linked to energy, something. Anyway, if you had an ecosystem of money, then you could freely vote with your dollars, or wealth in this case, which one you want to be in. And then if the Federal Reserve is being a bunch of dicks and they're just printing money out of thin air, doing willy-nilly, guess what? People leave that currency. And then they have to straighten up and fly right. Welcome to the world of competition. But they don't like competition. Neither, no authoritarian government, no communist government, no socialist government ever wants any competition for its ideas, because their ideas might be proven in the public voting sphere to be wanting. Now, we don't have that. What we do have is we have a dollar system that is being run by imbeciles, by crooks, by complete idiots. I can't believe that Biden and his administration decided to absolutely use the dollar as a weapon. We've been using it as a weapon for a long time, but usually we use it against a small country that has no recourse. We use the dollar as a weapon against Iran, put the whole country under full sanctions. We kept Iraq under full sanctions through the weight and force of the dollar for decades. Madeleine Albright chuckled gleefully that it was worth the price of 500,000 dead Iraqi children. How did we kill them? Oh, sanctions, right? And the sanctions had teeth because the U.S. Treasury was able to enforce that through the dollar. So the dollar obviously has been weaponized, but not to the extent they did against Russia. What did they do? They froze Russia's sovereign dollar-based reserves that were outside of the country. So that means that those reserves were neither reserves nor valued products of any kind, or sovereign. They were none of those things. So at any rate, that kind of got the ball rolling. Obviously, there's decades and decades of mistrust, decades and decades of countries out there saying, gosh, we're really chafing under this authoritarian rule of the dollar with its big club, and fickle U.S. policy that always seems to be very one-sided, lopsided. Our way or the highway. That's the U.S. policy. It's been very bullyish. So, given a chance to get out from under a bully, people do. That's what's been happening. Now, why does silver tie back into the story? Because silver is sending a signal that we can't ignore anymore. So let's go there and let me talk to you about this now. So, what is silver saying? Now, silver, as you may know, or maybe you don't, but here's a quick education. It comes in many different forms. Obviously, elemental silver, you can have it in pure bars. The 1,000 ounce bars, which are, I don't know, like 70 pounds, are those COMEX bars. You can get a 100 ounce bar. Those are about 7 pounds, right? It also comes in something called junk silver. So you see an example of that junk silver, which is no longer junk. We're going to call this prime silver from this day forward. Junk silver, back when I was first buying it, was the cheapest way to buy it. Often I could buy it below spot. So if spot was $8 an ounce, I was buying junk silver at a silver equivalence of maybe $7.50, 60, 70 cents, right? It was under spot. So that is no longer the case. It is actually one of the most expensive forms of silver you can now buy. So the question is, why? I think I know why. You know why I buy junk silver? Because, well, I like the old coinage. But I buy it because in case the monetary system ever breaks, I want to be able to reseed my local community with a circulating currency. And you don't have to do any training around junk silver. The coinage is immediately recognizable. Nobody's counterfeiting a heavily worn 1958, quarter. So it's very easily recognizable as the real deal. Whereas a silver round, I might have to convince somebody that a round from First Majestic Mint or Northwest Territories Mint is actually silver and not aluminum or something, right? You have to be more sophisticated, but a silver coin, that's easy. So what would happen if a lot of other people got on this same vibe and said, I would like to buy junk silver so that I could maybe have something that would be more recognizable for barter in case the dollar goes down this road it seems to be going down? Well, we would find that the price of that would go up a lot. So wander with me over to junk silver now. Here's a bag of 90% pre-1965. So all the years from 1964, stretching all the way back to the first coinage minted in this country, there's silver in it. And it's 90% silver, 10% alloyed, so it's more durable with copper and stuff like that. So look at this. Now, if you bought this, $100 face value, that's what we're seeing here. And let me just get... let me see if I can get where's my drawing tool out here. It's over on this screen. Aha. Yeah. So $100 face value of this stuff right here, which is quarters, 2,971. Wait a minute. There are per $100 of face value, there would be 71.5 ounces of silver. 71 ounces. 71.5 divided into 2,971 brings us to $41.55 an ounce. What? That is not only not under spot, that is ridiculously over spot, because as of today, silver is allegedly worth $25 an ounce, according to our bastardized, heavily broken markets. Now, a long time ago, I was talking with an old-time trader, and he said, Chris, you're going to know the markets are completely broken when there's a price for something, only you can't get it at that price. It's the Soviet model, right? Bread, comrade, is 10 cents a loaf. There are just no loaves, right? That's when you know your system is well and truly broken. So right now, they're telling me that silver in junk silver form is $41 an ounce. Oh, but these people are out right now. So they got this is how they put it these days. You got to watch this. They say they have a 1 week delay on the site. Trust me, call them. Make sure it isn't more like infinity delay or 5 week delay. But as I said, silver is allegedly $25 an ounce. This just took this snapshot of the silver market. And you can see it's basically going nowhere. It's just contained. It's always $20, $25 an ounce because that's what the markets say. But let's, again, you could have a market price, but what's the real price? All right, so I went over to APMEX. Same deal. I love these 1922 to 25 peace dollars. They're beautiful, beautiful things. They're a little more expensive, $38.99 each. They don't have a full ounce in them, I don't believe. Here you could get, you can't get this $100 face value because you'd have to alert me. If you wanted to engage in what's called a pre-sale, meaning we haven't got it, but we think we're getting some. But if you want to pre-buy some stuff that they haven't got yet, it's called a pre-sale. This is $315 here for a $10 roll. So for a $100 face value, that would be $315, and for the bucket, remember the bucket is the 1,000 ounce $1,000 of face value. They're about this big, and they weigh a ton. They're like 60 pounds or something, right? That bucket today would be $31,582. My first bucket was just under $5,000 when I bought it back in the day. In the meantime, please, if you don't have silver, you should get some. Gold too. All right. Thank you very much for listening, everybody. We'll be back